Hello everyone, it's time to talk about discovered attacks and discovered checks. These are tactical tools that by themselves are really powerful, but when you have them in a combination, their effect is even greater. I'm going to start by showing you this quick position, and this is going to allow us to get the idea of what the discovered attack is. We're going to focus on discovered attacks, and then we move on to discovered checks. So this is the first one. Is the white pieces to move and they have a discovered attack. As always, feel free to pause the video first and try to come up with the answer yourself. But right after, I'm going to be explaining every one of these exercises. So this one, um, the first thing to realize is that this bishop is on the same diagonal as my opponent's rook. And even though I have one of my own pieces in the way, this is going to allow me to do a discovered attack. So a discovered attack is when you move a piece and then there's another piece behind it, unleashing an attack on another piece. So in this case, I'll be doing pawn to d5, and notice how I'm attacking this bishop, but more importantly, my own bishop is open now to attack the rook. So this is what the discovered attack is. So at the end of the day, it's a double attack, and it's so simple, but at the same time, so powerful. So in this case, if I'm the black pieces, I think I'll try to save my rook. It's more valuable than the bishop. So after rook e8, for instance, I could just take the bishop, and now I'm winning by a bishop. So this is the idea of the discovered attack. I'm going to give you another position. This is a position that I've gotten many times. It comes out of one of my favorite openings. And in this position, the white pieces can do this nice move. They could do knight takes pawn, and it's a sacrifice. So this is the beginning of a nice combination. And then here the queen shouldn't take, because if the queen takes, we have a discovered attack. Notice how my queen is on the same file as my opponent's queen, and I cannot take it only because my bishop is in the way. So I'm thinking, where can I put this bishop so that it gives me enough time to get the queen after? So that move that I'm looking for is going to be bishop h7 check. So when I do this move, check, check, the king has to move, and then I can collect the queen. So again, I'm attacking the queen right after I discover the attack. So I go bishop h7 check, the king takes, and I collect the queen. Here we have the next one. It's the white pieces to move, and we have a discovered attack. Again, try to do it on your own, but basically this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the fact that my rook is on the same file as this queen, and if I could move this pawn, I'll be doing a discovered attack. But guess what? It's not easy at all to do that. So I keep looking, and then I realize my bishop is on the same diagonal as these rooks. So the same pattern as in the first exercise. So if I move my pawn, I'll be attacking the queen, and at the same time my bishop is discovered to attack the rook. So there's nothing the black pieces could do here to avoid losing material. If they move the rook, I get the queen. If they move the queen, then I get the rook. But no matter what, they're forced to lose material. Next one. Okay, so where is the pattern here for the discovered attack? Well, I quickly realize my bishop is on the same diagonal as this queen. Now, whenever I have this opportunity, the piece that is moving out of the way should go after a valuable piece or something that is hanging, something that you could take after my opponent moves, in this case the queen. So I need to look at everything that this knight could attack, because anywhere he goes, he cannot be attacked. For instance, this is not the answer, but even if I went knight f5, it looks that the bishop could take me easily, but they won't because I'm attacking the queen. So the knight has the flexibility to go anywhere he likes. And in this case, this is the move. Knight d5, he is attacking the rook, and the rook should not move because I'm also attacking the queen. So whenever they get the queen out of trouble, let's say they go here, now I could take the rook. And it all happened because of the discovered attack. All right, next one. So take a look at this one. It is the white pieces to move, and notice how we have our rook on the same file as this queen. So I'm thinking, if I move the knight, I'll be attacking the queen. So what could I attack with my knight? Well, immediately I see knight d4. I'm hitting this hanging bishop, and the bishop cannot move or should not move, because if they do move the bishop, we get the queen. So most likely they will move the queen, and then we get a bishop for free. Now, before we do any more exercises, let's do a few discovered check exercises. So what is a discovered check? It is the same thing, but when we discover the attack, that attack is going to be on the king, not on other pieces. So in this case, and this is a little bit more powerful because we're going to be hitting the king, meaning that they have to do something about that. So in this case, I know that if I move my knight, I'll be attacking the king. So again, the knight could go anywhere he likes. Like if I put it right in front of this pawn, he cannot be captured because I'm doing check. But the problem is that if I go knight f4, after they move the king, that knight is not attacking anything. So I'm looking, what can I go after with my knight? So in this case, I'm going to do knight b6, attacking the rook. The pawn cannot take me, I'm hitting the king. And when the king moves, then I get the free rook. So that's the discovered check. I remember a long time ago doing this trap that I'm about to show you, where I'd start with my king pawn, and then after my opponent did what's called the Petrov defense, and I would take the pawn, they would make a mistake and they would take my pawn as well, which allows me to do this move. I go queen e2. Notice how my queen is getting attacking the knight, but it's getting on the same file as his king. So when the knight would leave so that he's not captured, I have the perfect position to do a discovered check. So now all I need to do is move the knight anywhere he goes. He cannot be captured unless I get really close to the king with the knight. And I know that if I go after a valuable piece, I'm going to get it after because they need to take care of the king. So see if you can find the best move here for whites. Many people, I'm pretty sure, are going to come up with this move because attacking the queen and the rook. But even though it's a discover check, it doesn't work because the king could get out of the check by getting the knight. So you lost the knight for a pawn. Other people are going to come up with this move, knight g6. So these pawns cannot capture you because you're doing check. And right after they do something about that check, you're going to get the rook. That's a good move. But there's a more powerful move, which is going after the queen. So you could go knight c6, and when they cover, you're going to get the queen. So discover check, and you get the queen. So now we're ready to do a few more exercises. And here we go. We have a very powerful discovered check. Notice how we have this bishop on the same diagonal as my opponent's king. That means that if my knight moves, the king is going to be in trouble. So the question now is, where can my knight go so that he attacks something valuable? Well, I could take the rook right now, and that's pretty good. I get a rook for the price of the knight, but there's something better than the rook, the queen. So where can the knight go to attack that queen? Well, the move is going to be knight e5, and again, no one can capture my knight because I'm doing check. So the king has to move, and now I just go knight takes queen, and thanks to that, my knight could go from c6 to g6, and my opponent could do nothing about it. Okay, so this position is pretty similar to one that we already did, but let's see if you can figure it out. White pieces to move, and they have a discovered attack. Well, the pattern is my rook is on the same file as his queen. Where can my knight go so that he attacks something powerful? In this case, the knight is able to go after the rook. So I go knight e2, I'm attacking the queen. When the queen moves, I get the rook. Now take a look at this one. This is hard to see, I think, but if you take your time, you're going to find a discovered check. So pause the video, see if you can figure it out. Well, here the pattern is going to be how this bishop is on the same diagonal as my opponent's king. So if I move my pawn, I will be able to get a free piece. So this pawn could go to e6, and once the king moves, I could just take the knight, and I won material. And here's the last one. This one I think is a little bit more difficult because we're not going to attack a hanging piece or something more valuable. So it's the white pieces to move. Feel free to pause the video like always and try to find it on your own. But the answer here has to do with the fact that, of course, my rook is on the same file as this queen. And if my bishop moves, I could do a discovered attack. But the question is, where do I put the bishop? Well, there's nothing hanging. Notice how all of these pieces are on light squares. There's nothing I can attack except for this little pawn. And if you look closer, I also have my queen attacking that pawn. So the queen is here waiting for a helper to deliver checkmate. So if I did a move like bishop d4, I'm delivering a discovered attack, and at the same time I'm bringing support to the queen to do checkmate. So now they have to move the queen, and they could do a move like this. Look, the queen is out of trouble and is protecting g7, but now my rook can actually, or my queen could take the rook. So no matter what, this discovered attack allowed me to win material. So again, they move the queen and I take the rook. Alright guys, this was an introduction to this pattern of the discovered attack and discovered check, but now it's time for you to do your homework. I'm leaving a link in the description where you can click and find some PDF exercises for you to practice, because like I have told you with the other tactics, you need to practice a lot. That way your brain gets used to this pattern, and not only can you detect them in your games, but you could fabricate them even when they're not present. So go ahead, if you have a tactics book, find this chapter about discover attack and discover check. Use this website that I typically use. I'm leaving the link in the description below as well. But the point is, you need to practice. If you do 10, 20 exercises, not enough. You need to do lots of exercises consistently until you get really good at this. So put in the time, and I will see you guys next class.